Hey everyone, so this video is going to be about Saturn transiting through your 12th house. And I'm not going to be making a video for Saturn transiting through every house right now, just because obviously I've only gone through like certain Saturn transits. And before Saturn, in my 12th house, I don't really remember a lot of things. Um, I remember things of my life, but I think that the Saturn 12th house transit that I had personally in my life is the one that I remember the most, because I think that's when I started keeping up with, transits more. So I'm just going to be focusing on this because I feel like I can actually speak about it from personal experience and feel like I'm actually qualified to talk about this transit because I've been through it myself. And I just want to talk about things that came up that I've also looked into in like astrological research. And I feel like they actually are things that might come up for people who have Saturn transiting through the 12th house. So, the main, like an overall theme of Saturn in the 12th house is you feel really alone. You might not be alone, obviously. I mean, hopefully we all have some kind of social support system, but you might not actually be alone, but you will feel alone because you will feel like what you're going through during that time of your life, really only you can understand it. So you might go through things by yourself in solitude, or issues that you are going through at that time of your life, you might only reveal to a very, very select few people, like very few people. What you're going to go through during this time period of your life might not actually ever be revealed to anyone. This is going to be a very private, secretive time of your life. And I'm not going to lie, every Saturn transit is hard, right? I mean, we can all agree on that. But Saturn, things like major, like the outer planets going through your 12th house, you can look back on it and think like, wow, that was a dark period of my life. Basically is what I'm trying to say, that it just kind of creates this like theme of isolation in your life. So some things can be brought up, obviously, like your own issues are going to be brought to light, especially if you have addictions. That's going to be brought up, or negative coping skills, self-destructive patterns. All of that stuff is going to be things that you are dealing with, because Saturn in the 12th house is attempting to strip yourself from these things so that you don't have to rely on them anymore. Like, this is the reason Saturn in the 12th house is so, I guess, difficult or dark, is because it's like the critical point. Like, it's kind of like now or never. Like, you gotta deal with this shit, or else you are not going to be able to change. You're not going to be able to be someone else, because when Saturn hits your ascendant, that's it. Like, you have to start recreating yourself from what you let go of in the 12th house. Like, the 12th house is the time for things to be rid in your life, to be gone from your life. It's the time for you to die, okay? And I don't mean to sound dramatic or scare you, but you're not going to be able to ignore how you are getting in your own way now. Like, it's going to be kind of critical for you to really pay attention to these patterns that you have. So, I think that's probably the biggest theme of this chart, is feeling like you have to change, but maybe you don't know how to, or maybe you're afraid of change, or maybe you don't know what you have to let go of. Even if you think like, oh, this is causing all these issues in my life, like you might not know how to let go of it. Because in letting go of all of these things, you kind of have to let go of yourself. Like you have to let go of who you've been for the past, I don't even know how many years, like this whole Saturn cycle in your chart, whatever sign Saturn is in your 12th house, when it's transiting in your 12th house. Like you have to let go of all of these things because Saturn is trying to help you rebuild who you are on a deeper spiritual level. So it's hard because Saturn likes to stay the same, right? But he also is like the cleanup crew, that comes in and tries to sweep everything out, sweep everything that doesn't belong, that is no longer sustaining the system. So it just kind of feels like you want to let go, you want to change, you want to evolve, because that's what Saturn is pushing you to do, because that's where you're headed, because it's going to hit your ascendant at some point in your life. But it's hard to actually let go. It's hard to actually let go of who you are. It's hard to know how to change. So if you don't, from my own experience, I feel like I finally started to feel like I could make physical, real changes and actually maintain those when Saturn crossed the ascendant. But I wouldn't have known that had Saturn not pointed it out to me when it was in my 12th house. So, yeah. It's a very eye-opening transit, just in the sense of like your own personal, I don't even want to say demons, because I don't think it's like, I don't know. It's maybe not as dark as I'm making it out to be. Of course, it's not going to be like that for everyone, but I'm just kind of telling you what I experienced and what I've learned now that Saturn is already leaving my first house. Eventually, I'm probably going to make a video on Saturn transiting the first house and what I've learned from this transit. But I just, reflecting on past transits is how I learn from them. And I just know, like, looking back on my life when Saturn was in my 12th house, I can just see how it led to what happened to me when Saturn was in my first house, because it pointed out to me everything that needed to be let go of. And it was hard to face that at the time, but eventually I had to do it. So hopefully this video helped you, and hopefully it didn't scare you about Saturn in the 12th house, because of course it's all important for our own personal growth. And you will get through it, don't worry. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time.